Well, folks, these are dark times that we're going through right now. And in a time of darkness, it takes the originals to bring us back to the light. Kennedy's here. Leia's here. I'm here. And tonight you're riding with the OG3.
Yo!
Hello, everybody.
That was a weak one. I could have done better.
You probably could have done, but would you
I
like?
need a better yee than that, Leia.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a better yee.
I'm working on it.
No, I need it now. This is not like a later thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my throat.
Take your time. Take your time.
How's that?
It's an improvement.
It was fine.
Still,
We'll work on it.
we'll workshop it. We'll
we're
workshop
getting
it.
Alyssa, if you've got a cowboy hat, you probably don't. You're white trash.
Even if you had a cowboy hat, you can't join this.
That's right. You
team.
can't come.
This is the OG3.
Because this is the OG3. That's absolutely right. We had to take it there, and these are, for those of y'all, we could have faded that, but it's fine. This is the original. These are the original hosts. That music was so good. Might bring it back as the show goes on, but
it was good.
Episode 1. Now we're a year in. We're on episode 107 or some nonsense like that.
I don't even know anymore.
Well, I don't even know what episode number we're on.
An episode came out today, actually.
Wow.
And I didn't even tweet about it. So like y'all don't even know you're watching this. You're like, you don't no idea what I'm talking about.
Subscribe to the RSS if you're a true fan of the show, folks. That's where the action.
Learn how RSS readers work if you really give a damn.
That's right. So let's talk about it. We got our original hosts here. And Kennedy, you've got big news coming up because you've got presidential debate. Your presidential run's finally paying off for you.
I'm on the Hill of Roses debate that's coming in just under 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's going to be a presidential candidate supporter debate. So it's supporters of 5 different presidential candidates. I will be representing Howie Hawkins. Biden voters, get mad. Stay mad.
Get mad.
Who's the fifth one?
Joe.
Kanye?
No, Mark Charles.
Mark Charles.
Who was Mark Charles?
This is actually really bad. Leia, I love that you're the slowpoke meme because Mark Charles is a left-wing Native American that is running for president on an independent ticket. His vice presidential nominee is Pseudonym Moyowasipe Curry.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so when Pseudonym sees this video and it's like, you didn't even know my guy.
Shit.
You're going to be in big trouble. Your trip to Ghana.
Pseudonym, I'm very sorry. I still want to go to Ghana. Please. I need this.
For the record, I'm already like on friendly-ish terms with the Mark Charles supporter. I feel like there's like a 30% chance I come out of this debate like I'm voting for Mark Charles. Fuck it.
But did you get a choice? Were the slots all filled? Or did John just offer you Howie, or what? How did that go down?
I like a way long time ago was basically like, I will debate in a presidential debate against Trump and Biden.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Like I will support someone who's against both of them in one of your debates because John asked me if I would do one.
Son, you could have easily gotten stacked up to represent Kanye West.
I would love that.
You would just put your Yeezys on.
Wish I had some Yeezys, to be honest.
Real shit.
Like, buy me some Yeezys, fans. If you're out there watching and you're like, I wanna make Kennedy's day, buy me some Yeezys.
We need to get Amazon.
But it's gotta be specific. Some of them suck. So like, don't just buy me any Yeezys. Don't tell me.
We gotta talk about the series number of the Yeezys.
We need Amazon wish lists for each of us.
You gotta get on my shoe wish list. It's
That's right.
long. Actually, buy me some. You really want me to make me happy? Buy me some Versace shoes. Brandon knows this.
Oh, but, we talked about the Versace shoe game. But what do you think are the main arguments? I mean, this is going to be like an issues-based debate, which is actually great if you're supporting Howie, because it's like, here's the list of issues. Win, 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 win. That's
Right.
like the easiest format if you're a Howie.
I asked too. I said, is this going to be all about like, do I have to just spend the entire hour and a half justifying voting third party? And John was like, no, like prepare for a little of that, but like it's going to be like issues oriented. And I was like, sign me up. Like, because if it's just going to be 90 minutes of should you or should you not vote third party, like I'm
That's
not.
it.
You're always going to be playing defense. You can't.
First of all, we have a
argue for
tactical
yourself.
voting episode. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And
And in fact, we will do another one in a month.
yeah, we're going to do an update.
We're going to do one like 2 weeks from the election.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, listen, it's decision time.
Well, and
Then
especially
not safe
because
for
in the
once,
original tactical voting
decision
episode, we talked a little bit speculatively about swing states and stuff like that. But like 2 weeks out, we'll know what the battlegrounds are,
Yeah.
and so then we can really give you a better perspective on all that kind of stuff. So if your decision is riding on like, am I in a battleground or not, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
And we'll also, you guys should also have had I think Lariva would have been a more interesting candidate than Mark Charles.
Yeah.
Wild card.
I wouldn't say more interesting personally. I think Mark Charles is actually like underrated as like an activist and a person. Also, I'll just say I win either way. Gloria LaRiva and Mark Charles are from New Mexico, so I win no matter what.
I
It's
didn't
all
know
coming
that.
up, Kennedy.
It's all coming up, Kennedy. What? I mean, you also have the advantage of you've spoken to Howie Hawkins on multiple occasions. That is actually something that nobody else, to my knowledge, unless our Trump guy talked to Trump, hung out, which is possible. You're the only person that's actually hung out with the candidate that you're advocating for.
We're gonna do another one of those episodes as it comes down to it.
What, a Howie episode?
I think
Yeah.
we'll actually
We need to get
probably book
Angela.
Angela is what we're
We
gonna
need to
do
get
actually,
Angela on the
because we've talked to Howie a couple times. Also, Howie's super busy, so getting any of his time is really challenging. But
Yeah.
Angela said she was interested in doing our show.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, she went on Hack and Slash, and Chris repped us to her directly, and I responded to it on Twitter. This wasn't even that long ago. This was like 8 weeks ago at most. I responded to it directly on Twitter. Well, it happened during our season break.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was just like, well, I'm not going to rush this. But I'm sure if we reached out to Angela and we said, hey, sorry for the wait, but we'd love to do that interview now, she's going to say yes, just for the record.
So yeah, since you've talked to Howie, what stood out from your interactions with Howie that you think that he made the best case for himself? What stands out to you about just the Howie candidacy?
That's a good question. Well, I think there's two major things. I think one is that he's real salt of the earth, and the Green Party has had this bad habit of running like ivory tower academic-y types. Like, no offense to Jill Stein, but like, she doesn't really bring in the working class in the same way, especially on first glance. Like, I think you can make some arguments about what Jill Stein is like if you get to know her. But
Right.
Your first impression of Jill Stein is that she's kind of a kooky nerd. And that's what the Democrats do that sucks, is the kooky nerd strategy, you know? And so the Green Party copying that over and over again with many of their candidates, I don't think has really been to their advantage. Whereas Howie Hawkins is not a kooky nerd. He comes off as like, he would like shove a nerd in a locker, maybe almost like, he really comes off as just like working class, like energy to the max. And I really value that. I think that's really important right now. And I also think that what Howie brings is just ultimately a Green Party candidate right now doesn't represent a future president so much as they represent a future of an independent left, perhaps. Right. And Howie has those organizer chops to like bring that conclusion to bear and like give us that reality, I think.
Leo, what's up?
I was just going to say, Brandon, that this is something you've been talking about for a while, that the American people hate nerds.
America hates nerds. I don't know if nerds know that. Nerds have this whole nerd pride thing going on. If you go to Warren Twitter, they're like, this is what, you go to Charlotte Clymer's Twitter and she's like, this is what America really needs. They need Lisa Simpson, bold nerd girl that's in the front of the class and doesn't like boys.
This is what America really needs. We need Holocaust tattoos. There's a joke that not everyone will remember, I'm sure. But if you
No, I am
Warren
cursed.
Twitter shenanigans,
I am cursed to bear this knowledge like Atlas.
you follow Warren Twitter shenanigans closely, like me.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad for all of us that we have to follow
Yeah.
Warren Twitter shenanigans? But yeah, people
It's
like
funny though. I mean, like anytime there's like a weird political thing going on, it's like you just have to go to Warren Twitter, and that there's gonna be like crazy freak out takes.
baffling take.
Just incredible. It's always incredible.
So we can come back. We can come back and talk a little bit more about how Hawkins, who's running for president, and
Sure.
case
Yeah.
for Howie. But I want to talk about Kennedy, a different Kennedy, and this Kennedy has very
Bad
little
Kennedy.
in common with you because this Kennedy is a loser.
No, nothing
This guy.
bad ever happens to the Kennedys.
This guy, Joe Kennedy, it's a hard time to be Joe Kennedy. You lost a Democratic Party primary in Massachusetts, and I don't think that people understand the gravity of a Kennedy losing a primary.
The Kennedys have ran in Massachusetts 26 times, the whole family. They have ran 26 times. Joe Kennedy is the 27th. They won all of those 26. And Joe Kennedy is the first Kennedy to ever lose in Massachusetts.
And I want to be clear that Joe Kennedy is not the first fuck up Kennedy that was just hungry for power and
Didn't
an
matter.
idiot. Like I just want to point this out because like I think some people think that like Joe Kennedy was like the first of his line to like walk in like, haha, I'm a Kennedy, give me a spot. But actually they've all done that almost.
Yes.
And it's worked for all of them. So like this makes this even more pathetic to me in a way because like this like I'm a Kennedy, give me whatever, like has literally worked for the Kennedys in Massachusetts every time, no matter how whack they were, no matter how dorky they were, whatever. Like y'all ever watch videos of Robert Kennedy? Go watch a video of Robert Kennedy.
Let's go. Like, let's talk about that. I think one of the things that's really worth mentioning, if we're talking about the downfall of the Kennedy dynasty, maybe it isn't that, but let's just talk about it. The Kennedy family have been known as leaders on the left. They were known as like the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. When, Ted Kennedy ran against Jimmy Carter, that was a primary. Ted Kennedy represented the left.
He was like practically Bernie Sanders in his time, as weird as that sounds. Like,
like that sound like just looking at the actual issues and the actual
right. You'll look at his policies. Somebody will look at Ted Kennedy's policies and come back and yell at me in like 5 minutes. This isn't even, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is just from the perspective of like, he was like the way outside what was acceptable challenger to like the mainstream Democratic plan.
It was like a Republican in Texas. Like, yeah, you can get away with that if you're in Massachusetts, the place where like it's the left wing place, but the rest of America, I don't know whether a Kennedy would, all that kind of stuff. So this is, I mean, Joe has always been kind of moderate-ish, and someone who didn't take up a lot of space. I think that like for most of Joe Kennedy's career, Joe was like thought of as a backbencher, as a go along, get along person, as somebody that was kind of slow rolling this thing and not leaning super hard on name value. And whatever happened, I think this is a weird take and everybody won't go along with it. But I think the thing that actually happened, and this is have y'all seen that meme of the dominoes where they show like one little domino, like,
Yeah.
and then it's like the full extinction of civilization. Yeah. I want to make the case the little domino is Ayanna Pressley, and the big domino is the downfall of the Kennedy family. All of this shit happened, in my personal opinion, because Joe Kennedy did not want to risk running against Ayanna Pressley if there was an open Senate seat. I think that there was a desire to get that seat instead of run for governor, because the governor seat is typically Republican seat, and Joe could have shown some actual courage by saying, this is the actual hard slot to run for, and I'm going to make a run at it, and actually would have gotten some support by being the heavy, and everybody, no Democrat really wants to run for governor in Massachusetts. It's like running into a wood chipper. So if Joe Kennedy had rolled his sleeves up and been like, I'm going into the wood chipper, everybody probably would have supported that. And it would be
Rose Twitter would have been behind him. That's the funny thing, right? Yeah. Like most likely all of us who just spent like the last 6 months doing nothing but dunk Joe Kennedy on Twitter would have been like, Joe Kennedy for Massachusetts governor, you guys, we have to do this. This is really important. This is really going to change American politics if we could get Joe Kennedy in there.
Because, and this is also the situation with Ed Markey, the radical left is not as radical as it advertises itself to be.
This is something I was going to say, is that it's really remarkable how quickly a lot of the left fell behind Ed Markey, who was not a communist revolutionary or anything. not even a DSA member. He didn't endorse Bernie in the primaries.
No.
But by signaling his openness to the left more broadly, he got incredible support amongst it, which really goes to show what, there might be a lesson here for other Democrats who want to run for office. I don't know. I'm not running for office.
Not yet.
But just maybe you could learn something.
Well, you want to run for mayor, I'll lend you my cowboy hat. You're going to need one.
I think there's a lesson here for the left, because this kind of ties into what I was saying about maybe we shouldn't be so quick to give up on the Democratic Party takeover. If we're determined to take power somehow, and it's going to take time no matter what, and realistically revolution is not the way that we're doing it, and so therefore we're talking about electoralism, it's going to take a lot longer to take power with the People's Party or with the Green Party or whatever, than to just keep making the left a very viable group to appeal to. Ed Markey didn't just see voters in the left. He recognized the value of the volunteer work, that kind of stuff that the leftists do. Because we've talked about this before on this show, but you go to any office that's doing campaign work for a politician or a cause, that's doing door knocking or phone banking or whatever, and 8 out of 10 of the people sitting there, getting ready to do that door knocking, are anarchists. And they're the ones there getting ready to do the door knocking, because the libs don't do it. Libs do not knock doors. They don't do phone banking. They don't do that stuff. And so I think really Ed Markey recognized, because some of the numbers bore this out in terms of volunteer hours and stuff like that for their respective campaigns. I think Ed Markey recognized that not only was he getting voters by appealing to the left, but that he was getting the people that were going to do the work to keep him in office, which is something that Joe Kennedy didn't really have. He had a lot of libs that like to talk the talk, but how many of those people were actually phone banking? The numbers that I've seen say it wasn't very many.
Joe Kennedy very much could not answer any hard questions about his campaign or about his candidacy. And this is why people should vote for him, why he's running for office at all against Ed Markey. He refused to make any sort of assertion that was meaningful. He could have tried to run to the left of Markey, who admittedly, like I just said, didn't endorse Bernie in the primary. He could have done that. He could have just done anything to elucidate why he was running for office. And it led to an implicit assumption that he was doing it because he was a Kennedy and he thought he was owed the seat.
He basically said that at the start, and then he backpedaled it later,
which is not good. That's not a good reason for running.
When people asked him, why are you running? That's what he said.
And even in the back half of it, even in the back half of the race, he started to lean into that. when he failed to articulate that reason for running it, Ed Markey kept pressing him. He was like, "Hi, my grandfather was Bobby Kennedy. You remember him? Please remember Bobby Kennedy." And oh god, one of the best political ads I have seen was Ed Markey's ad, that kind of 3-minute one that ended with it's time to start asking what your country can do for you. Like, fuck, you bodied him.
That was well, first of all, Ed gets no. This is lining up with our big point here. Ed Markey gets no credit for any of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
The Sunrise Movement put their hand up Ed Markey's ass and maneuvered Ed Markey like a puppet. And now Ed Markey is tweeting like AOC. Are we sure that Ed writes his own tweets?
Doesn't matter.
I mean,
well, maybe. Yeah, I don't want to say not for sure because he might.
I'm sure Ed consults or something and is like, "Oh, that sounds good. Wow, I sound so smart." But
Sunrise Movement definitely like were some angels interfering in an otherwise fair baseball game here. Yeah. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
But it was a very good ad.
I think what's funny about this whole thing, and Brandon, I'm really glad you brought up that Joe K himself was a backbencher in his own right, is that this was like the battle of the backbenchers, you know? And like, that's kind of, in a way, that's kind of what made this interesting, is like, both of these dudes who have never really had to stand out before had to try to stand out, and Ed Markey found a lane, and Joe Kennedy did not.
That's so true. Just in terms of neutral political analysis, Ed Markey is somebody who 3 years ago absolutely did not have a political identity, was a trivia answer to a question that nobody was ever going to ask. And a few months later, when all of this is happening, and Joe he said this himself, but he didn't exactly say it as plainly as you could. When they asked him why he was running, his rationale was like, as a Kennedy, I can move the ball forward on issues more than Ed Markey, who's an anonymous guy. And there was like pushback against it because it does sound entitled, and it kind of is entitled. But the problem was Ed, realizing this and panicking for a job, did rush to define himself in some sort of way. And yeah, the Green New Deal became Ed's entire brand. He became AOC. Like, he practically became a proxy for AOC. And one of the reasons,
honestly, his tweets have been like slightly left of the squad. Like, his tweets have been fire. He's like a BLM activist on Twitter now. He's just like out there, like practically like burning cop cars or something. Like, it's hilarious.
But yeah, that's something. And so but now, you know, he's got to live up to that. And now he's kind of in the left's pocket, and they're going to kind of put pressure on, like, Ed, you kind of owe them like your entire career now. So the activists in Massachusetts, you ought to be at Ed's door. Like, it's time to ask what your senator can do for you, because you'll pull his ass out of the fire. And it was kind of a mutually beneficial deal, because as the author of the Green New Deal, and this is one of the reasons why Sunrise jumped in so hard for him, if he had lost his primary, the Green New Deal is kind of dead in the Senate. Like, this was the radical left's big thing. Their guy lost a primary. So why should anybody else even bother jumping onto that kind of environmental rhetoric? Is this an online only thing where you're so worried about getting dunked on that you're adopting a policy that apparently people don't care that much about?
But no, the Green New Deal defeated a Kennedy in Massachusetts.
That's the headline, because Ed Markey didn't do shit. The Green New Deal beat a Kennedy in Massachusetts is exactly the headline that people should be taking.
I'm about to tweet that.
That's a fire tweet. You should tweet that you can take that for yourself, Kennedy.
No, I'm putting it on main.
Okay, yeah. That's a good tweet. One of the reasons why we even do this show is just that we stumble into fire tweets sometimes.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Uh, do we want to talk about the future?
Go
ahead.
I just want to say, to bring like my thoughts full circle real quick.
Yeah.
That I think that this really, like I said, I've said before, like, we got the entire Democratic establishment to like pull out all the stops to like stop the progressives from getting our candidate into the presidency. All right. Like, we can't forget that. We can't just like look at that and think, oh, we lost. We have to think we almost won against like Goliath, you know, and we're David. We're just down here with a slingshot and we like almost beat the giant, and like we could go against the giant again. And I think the Ed Markey situation is a great example of like the fact that we haven't just been defeated, that we don't have any, like it's not like we have no power. And that, like, I think if we step up as the left and say, hey, look, we're the activists who will do the work to get you elected if you appeal to us. We'll make sure that you beat whoever you're up against if you appeal to us, because we will go out there and we will do the door knocking and the fundraising and the phone banking and all of that work. I think if we present that really strongly as the left, I think there's a lot of potential here, and the Ed Markey win proves that.
Can I posit an idea to both of y'all?
Yeah,
sure. Sure.
2024. The Democratic Party has no bench. Like, the left of the Democratic Party has no bench. AOC is like 12 years old, and a lot of people want to throw her right into it. The fact that Nina Turner is somebody that we are always talking about running for president kind of concerns me. Because, first of all, running for president...
You know how I feel about that.
Running for president is very difficult. It's soul-crushing, and it's very personal. People drag up every detail of your life. Do you know, like, how Nina did in college? Do you know every personal relationship that she's
also,
had?
Let's just be clear. She's not going to do it.
I don't think I hope she doesn't.
Like, just even if you thought Nina Turner is the best person for the job, she didn't even want to be Bernie's VP. She does not want that much pressure and spotlight.
Well, the ask is out of desperation. Like, people are desperate for somebody to champion or whatever that they trust.
Right.
So
and I
think that our two options for 2024, like, let's say there's 2024, whether it's a deeply unpopular Biden or a deeply unpopular Kamala or a deeply unpopular open seat or whatever it is. Let's say that the left wants to run someone next time. I feel like our options are an activist that has fire takes and has been doing it for a while and everybody likes them, or doing the Ed Markey strategy of there's somebody who has some experience and profile and it's just like, put a hand up my ass and I will say what you want me to say.
Essentially go up to them and say, here are the keys to an army. Do you want it?
Yes. So I want to put this out here and let's just muse about it. Like a Jay Inslee type. Should we just take another old person and just be like, just say what we tell you? Or should we go look for a younger person that is an activist that has bona fides?
Unironically, like, I think when we talk about somebody who would just be a progressive puppet if we really put the pressure on, but we also said, yes, there's a lot of pressure, but there's also a ton of support.
Are you actually saying Kristen Gillibrand, or are you just...
Yeah, I'm actually suggesting her as like an Ed Markey type.
Yeah,
like she's right now, she's in this position where she has a reputation that she used to be pretty conservative. Now she's kind of progressive. Not everybody trusts her yet, but if she like pulled a full Ed Markey and just said, like, got on her knees in front of Sunrise and said, "Take my head if you have to, but I'll do whatever you need."
There's a room with Sunrise, the nurses union, Nina, AOC, and like a couple other people. Like, it's really like if there's a set of endorsements that if you get it, like, it's okay, you have the support of the activist left.
I think that not even just a Jay Inslee, I feel like Jay Inslee might be an okay option for that, because he's gonna be up for re-election as governor again. He's a pretty popular governor. All indications are he's going to sail to re-election this year.
Right.
And
And after
based on oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, I just said
Based
after
on
that, so, go ahead.
based on what he did in his previous campaign, which was basically only be the climate guy, if we could convince him to do that again, then I think that if we coalesced around him and got him to say the things that we wanted to, he might have a shot at not only the primary, but also the presidency, which is another consideration
Also,
we have
let's
to
be
take
real.
into
Jay
account.
Inslee gets a bit of like a hard time sometimes from like Twitter leftists, but his record is not like much worse than Bernie's, guys. Like
Yeah.
if you're talking about somebody that like you don't have to feel too bad supporting, like Jay Inslee's record is okay, you know, like
Yeah.
he'll stand up to like a certain amount of scrutiny. So I
And
could see
what
it
we have
working
to-
from that perspective.
What we have to realize is that the Republicans, no matter what happens, are going to go fucking insane in 2024.
Oh yeah,
So if Trump wins, if Biden wins, no
Doesn't
matter
matter.
what,
yeah.
they're going to be fucking insane. They're going to run Don Jr. or Dan Crenshaw or Tucker Carlson or another one of this menagerie.
I just want to be super, super clear for 1 second. In fact, I'm gonna full screen myself. This is important. If you think that this election is the time to head off the pass for fascism, we are past that point, guys. Like, I just want to be really clear about this. Like getting Trump out of office is not heading off fascism.
No.
Okay, like we passed that point years ago, probably in the Bush era. Okay, so like whatever happens with this election, the fascists are not gonna, oh, we're gonna go crawling back. No, they're winning right now, and they're gonna keep fighting.
And let me tell you one worse scenario, and I don't feel like anybody's talking about this. Donald Trump loses election for president to Joe Biden. Guess who's going to be back in 2024? Donald Trump.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
he's eligible.
Nothing says that. Do y'all think Donald Trump's going to hand the crown down to one of his shitty kids? If he
I don't even know if he'll acknowledge the results if he loses, first of all.
Yeah.
So of course I expect Donald Trump
might be
run
like,
again.
I'm gonna grift for 4 more years. I will be the most super like I'll make noise saying this is illegal, whatever. I will grift for 4 years as a scorned god.
He's probably going to be on every Fox News show for the next 4 years.
For the next 4 years, make sure the kids are there. Be the #1 voice of the resistance, quote unquote. Run in 2024 and say, this is Trump, no holds barred, back for business. I'm old as hell, but it's okay. You all love me. And I will be unleashed for 1 more term. And for 4 years, you get full Donald Trump. I will do what the hell I want to do. Wouldn't that get 90% of the Republican Party?
And the Biden administration is going to be so bad that Trump will be able to come back in 2024 and be like, look at what you did by getting me out, you dumbasses. Vote me back in. Let's fix this. You know, like that'll be his whole rhetoric, and the Republicans will eat it up with a spoon. Like they will be all about it. Like, yeah, just freaking out.
And all this stuff about Trump going to jail, the cops are going to come pick Trump up as soon as
Not
he
happening.
Rich people get off when they commit crimes. They don't get prosecuted. When they do, they get off light. If Donald Trump gets like any kind of persecution, Donald Trump is going to flip that into money, baby. He's going to say now the state is persecuting me. The Biden administration is persecuting me, and it's going to be just a huge mess. And I actually think Donald Trump can raise up enough of a stink. Will Biden want to push it to the envelope and make Donald Trump frontline news for the next 2 years? Maybe.
Here's the thing. If we had a president with any spine, there would be a chance that Donald Trump gets in some kind of trouble as he leaves office, right? But Biden is going to make sure it's going to be like Nixon all over again. You know, Biden is going to make sure he's going to say, look, for the sake of unity, we cannot be prosecuting Trump for any crimes. That would cause more chaos. blah blah, all that kind of dumbass shit.
Let me tell you, will the resistance rebel again? I think we have this conversation a lot about what the resistance will do next year. But let's say Biden's president and he lets Trump off the hook, and they've spent the last 4 years getting tuned up to hate Trump. Are they gonna turn on Biden if he lets Trump off the hook?
No, because the resistance are fucking weak-willed idiots. So what they'll
They
do
have the memory of goldfish.
is they'll go. This is slightly disappointing, but I do understand that the unity of our nation is important, and I feel that it's best that we just move on at this point. And I stand with Joe Biden on this decision.
We've got to be about this.
Yeah, the adults in the room understand that we can't just send Trump to jail. There'll be those tweets by blue checks every 5 minutes.
Matt Iglesias, I'm looking at you already, son.
These people have the memory of goldfish.
Yep.
And as soon as Biden gets into office, it'll be like 2009.
Is there anybody in the resistance, like blue checks, media figures, that hate Trump so much that you feel like they actually will turn on Biden if he does not satiate their lust for blood?
No. Nope.
Joy Reid, Maddow, Iglesias.
No. If one of them was gonna, here's why I say no. It's because if one of them was going to do it, I believe that they would have done it already, because I believe that one of them would have been upset by the completely and obviously botched impeachment.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was upset by the completely and obviously botched impeachment, with the very weak articles that didn't address nearly enough of Trump's misdoings and all of these excuses about why we couldn't have all of Trump's misdoings in the article. It's just all this stupid shit. And like taking forever to do it. Like we should have impeached him, 6 months into his term. We already had grounds. Like, what were you guys doing? Instead they were passing his budgets. So anyway, I think if any of them were gonna like go rabid about like we need to hold Trump accountable, they should have done it then. And if they didn't do it then, they're probably not gonna do it when Trump's out of office. Because again, this whole thing, the Biden presidency resets things back to normal for them. So like, do they even need to hold Trump accountable? No, everything is bathed in this Christ-like wonder.
That's the goal right
Biden
now.
presidency.
They want things to return to normal. And as soon as there is a new president, things will be back to normal. They don't need to do any of the things they said they would. They shift back into brunch mode, and all of these people will stop caring.
So, basically, what you're saying when you're saying all this is the liberals, they can't be trusted because they go from beast mode to brunch mode.
Not even that.
They never left brunch mode. They're in brunch mode right now. Nancy Pelosi's having brunch right now.
They're going from brunch where you angrily glare at someone across the street mode to brunch looking at your food mode.
Wow.
That's the level of change we're talking about.
Not even the problem. See, this is why they're upset. The person isn't across the street that they're glaring at. The person that they're glaring at is at the fancy restaurant. Trump's over there. He's got the good table, and he's just over there with his buddies. They're hemming it up, having brunch, getting wasted, and these white ladies are like, "This is ruining our good time."
It's civility. It's always civility.
It's time for the Democrats to take their seat at the brunch table. Listen, I want to go back to something we were talking a little bit about 2024, and
let's talk about that for a few more minutes.
I want to add one more thing before we maybe talk a little more about Howie and then get out of here. Leia, I specifically want to hear from you, but I want to hear from everybody.
Sure.
If we're having another puppet, are a lot of these puppets are? I mean, Kennedy, you said Gillibrand. Do we want more guys? Like if we talk about people who are old established politicians, just because of the nature of our system, like it's old white guys. Does that really matter, or was that just a lib hoax, or do we need to look for diversity as we do 2024?
I think it's one of those things that does and doesn't matter, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like
they'll erase who like it's not like if like in a world where Nina
They're gonna
Turner-
slag everybody,
Yeah, that's
no
not
matter
like,
who you run.
she's black, where they'll be like AOC. Well, you know, she's Latina. You gotta leave her alone.
No, they will. Yeah, they're not gonna leave somebody alone just because the libs definitely use idpol as like a deflectionary
Very
tactic.
selectively, right?
It's a very selective usage. So like, you know, and the funny thing is when they were complaining, we talked about this, when they were complaining about you know, oh, the stage is too white, it was like, that's your fault.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
Yeah.
We were the ones supporting all the candidates that weren't that.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you know,
I think yeah, we did a whole episode about this, but yeah, who were like, you're talking about black voters, who did they support overwhelmingly? Bernie and Biden. So at some level, you've got to be these candidates who are black and brown candidates. You need to appeal, instead of appealing to the donors that like you kind of have to do in order to get up to that stage. Like, go appeal to the people if you want them so bad. So yeah, that's a mess.
no, the libs just like to parade out the idpol thing. It's the same way that the conservatives do it, like in our comments when they're being bad faith. It's literally the same kind of behavior. It's like they want to parade out the idpol thing to try to prove that we on the left are hypocritical because we can't hold ourselves to this. You know, it's funny because they always talk about the left as having purity tests. Right. But if you ask me, it's the people outside the left purity testing us way more than anything that we do. Yeah. Like the libs and conservatives are constantly like, hey, leftist, did you maybe do a bad thing? Because that would prove that you don't believe what you really mean or whatever. Like, and it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like,
Leia, do you have any personal preferences between these strategies? And does idpol matter in choosing your? I don't know, idpol can be a divisive term, but I'm just using it as a neutral term.
Yeah, I gotcha.
That when you're going shopping for people you want to see and make calls for and all that other shit.
While Leia's collecting her thoughts,
that really infuriates me and is just fundamentally I hate talking about. It's just, who cares? I want someone that can win and implement the policies that I fucking care about.
Okay.
I don't care. Stop talking about it. Or don't stop talking about it, but that's like what I'm thinking.
Right, I get you.
I just
yeah, I think ultimately, like, I agree with Leia to a large extent, but what I will say as a caveat is that it's easier to trust people that come from marginalized backgrounds for me, I think, because it's like, it's like easier for me to verify that you understand like something. Whereas like, I think like when it's like, here's a bunch of old white rich men, and some of them are saying that they have my back, and some of them are saying that they don't, but none of them have lived anything resembling my experiences. Like, it's hard to trust any of them to some extent, you know? Whereas, like...
And I suppose that's kind of implicit in someone that can follow through on the policies that I want.
Yeah.
So speaking of follow through on policies that we want, speaking of working class backgrounds, speaking of being able to relate to regular people, Howie Hawkins running for president. You're going to do this debate.
Yeah.
Hour and a half. How long is it? Hour 15, something like that?
Should be about an hour 15, hour and a half.
Do you know off the top of your head what the major categories are?
Yeah, so basically we're going to have opening statements, and then it'll be economy, healthcare, democracy, and law enforcement as our 4 major topics, which I think are great for me to talk about Howie Hawkins' platform, you know, on that, all those fronts. The section I'm probably most concerned about is like, there's going to be like an individual questions that's like tailored to each candidate. I have no idea what the hell they're going to ask me.
I have to assume that you will be asked, Donald Trump has a chance of becoming president, and your advocacy for Hawkins may empower a second Trump term. How do you grapple with that? Maybe that'll be asked to Charles and Jorgensen, but I think it'll just be, especially because isn't John the moderator?
I don't know, actually.
Okay. If John's the moderator, that will definitely be the question, because I know John.
Sure. But he won't present it in like an NBC News style way.
Right.
At
right.
least like he'll give me the room to like make my point.
Yeah.
On that front, which I guess would probably just mainly be about like first of all, I support tactical voting, so I'm not necessarily advocating that everybody vote Howie Hawkins, but I think it should be everyone should consider it, you know?
If you care enough about politics to be watching a debate on the Hill of Roses, you should be considering voting for Howie Hawkins.
Yeah.
You're in that small percentage of people who are really tuned into these ideas and care about the future and where things are going. And you care about, these issues that we're bringing up. Howie seems like a person to think about support.
Yeah.
Best of luck on that debate.
I think like the main kind of direction I want to give my arguments in general is that like a lot of people see the need for an independent left. The Green Party could be that vehicle. Howie is an ideal organizer who understands the ability of a presidential run to build that kind of platform. And he's also presenting a vision for the Green Party that's highly viable. That like
2024, Angela's got to run, right?
I hope so. That'd be incredible, honestly. She should be the nominee in some ways.
I won't necessarily put it like that. I mean, they recruited Howie and Howie recruited her. So it's good that Howie was able to spot talent when he saw it. Howie is very much the Green Party's guy. Yeah. Like they went to Howie and was like, we're going to do this. And Howie's very much a good soldier type. And he definitely jumped in there. He's
definitely not a divisive choice within the party, which I think is good.
Well, I mean, the candidates were obviously steaming that, but I think the overall Green Party is kind of coalesced behind Howie for better or worse.
Well, and even the maddest candidates were always pretty clear that like it's not Howie, it's the process, Right. Like I wouldn't be surprised if a few of those like frustrated people vote Howie, right? Like,
although I mean they have challenged Howie to buck his inner circle, and Howie has been like, no, I'm not doing that. Are you out of here? Or are you? Come on, get it together. But I haven't seen a lot of personal animus directed at Howie.
Yeah, I think he'll be relatively unifying.
Yeah.
In terms of the party.
And also, this is also something, and we're going to kick it to Leia in a second. This is also something that I think you should bring up. Howie is not just the choice of the Green Party; he's also the choice of the Socialist Party. Like, there's a lot more, I think, left unit. He's also been endorsed by a few DSA chapters. We can debate whether that makes sense for a DSA chapter to endorse a national candidate for president. It doesn't make sense. But given that, it's something that you can bring up as Howie being the choice of the left, maybe more than Mark Charles, the consensus choice, rather. Kennedy, you're muted.
Put that in my notes.
Yeah. Leia.
Yes?
We're coming on the end. Isn't there something else that you wanted to talk about featuring a very lovely man saying very lovely things?
You know what? I gotta say, Donald Trump, very funny. Even if he's not trying to, even if he's terrible, awful, genocidal, every word in the book, he's funny. He called I forget the exact thing, but
well, it's funny that
there's a report in the.
I got it right here, baby.
Oh, yes,
it's right here.
It's just immensely funny to me that he calls people who died in World Wars losers and suckers. Like, the phrasing that he uses makes it seem like he's talking about people he fucked over in a business deal. Like, if I was in the war, I simply would not have gotten killed. I wouldn't have got shot.
But
those are losers.
You've seen him talk about, like, as a lot of people went to Nam, but not getting an STD was like Vietnam for me. Like, Trump only and these soldiers, they knew what they got into. Someone on Twitter made this point. Donald Trump cannot conceive of a relationship or an action that is not transactional in nature. And so Trump looks at the risk of service like, I could be injured, I could be killed, I'm giving up my freedom. And it's like, what am I getting?
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I'm rich.
More to that point, I forget the exact person, but he was leading somebody's daughter through a military cemetery and got to the grave of the person they got to the grave of the father of the person that he was leading around the cemetery, and reportedly said, "What did you think it was worth it?
No,
was this worth it?"
Trump is so.
A great question.
Trump is such a comically evil person. Like he's like a cartoon in some ways.
He's so he doesn't try to be, but he's so fucking hilarious.
The lines between good and evil have never been so sharp, like in years of American history. Because the press that usually launders like the evil that presidents do, they can't do it with this guy. And I feel like that's some of the never Trump. Like you have this machine that is willing to make you look good if you can be 10% less openly evil.
Absolutely refuse to do anything that improves your image.
If you can just not act like the fucking Joker and just
he's acting like a fucking
baby.
He's acting like a wrestling heel. Like he gets up on stage. You know, everybody who died in wars, they're losers.
That you literally, if you were in the WWF, Vince McMahon would say, "You got to be a little more nuanced, damn it. You've got to have a little more characterization." And you know, Vince McMahon, not a person for nuance, would look at Donald Trump and say, "That is too much. You are too evil." It's nuts. We're not.
Donald Trump is out here like he just left Arkham Asylum 10 minutes ago. He was just released. Like he's been next to the Scarecrow, you know, in like they've been sharing a bunk like for like the last 4 years, and then Donald Trump just comes out. And now I'm president again.
Trump talks about everything, like his business acquaintances.
One of the reasons
he's a fucking loser.
One of the reasons why Trump is so into cops and not into troops, and why he has all kinds of shit, is because like cops, he thinks of that as a great deal. You beat the shit out of people, and people can't beat the shit out of you back without breaking the law. He's like, this is a great deal. This is great. I love this shit. It's just like a soldier. You have to like defend people. You
go to other soldiers that are also trying to kill you.
Shoot back at you. This is a terrible deal. And by the way, Donald Trump, his dad sent him to a military academy, and he was bullied. They hated, like, why wouldn't you hate Donald Trump? You're in a military academy, and this New York rich boy piece of shit just opened like at a military academy. Imagine Donald Trump at a military academy where people are allowed to slap the shit out of you. It's probably the one time, like, think of Joffrey in Game of Thrones, and Tyrion is like the Hand of the King, the first person in his life that can slap him openly and just do it, and you know, can get away with it. Trump at a military academy is like King Joffrey going to you idiot. And so Trump's getting slapped every day, you know, for a fact. And Trump goes home and says, "I hate the military."
I've been saying this. I wish that exaggeration.
Leia.
I've been saying this. I wish that people weren't such fucking idiots that they would listen to him. Because in an ideal world, we could hook up Donald Trump to a 24-hour news channel where he could just say the dumbest things that come to his brain and call troops losers. And all of this shit, that the stuff that he censors and like anonymous sources have to leak. But we can't do that because people would listen to him. But like I said, in an ideal world, we could just laugh at the stupid things that the man with the fucking blonde, almost there hair says.
But Leia, we've got that right now, and it's called Donald Trump's Twitter. And every brain part that this man, this like clearly struggling man has, it goes right into everybody's eyeballs. Like as much as technology can allow, his rando thoughts at 4 a.m. go into everybody's eyeball, and they're like, "I love this shit." People have
said this about Biden, but we should do it for Trump. We need to construct like a fake White House somewhere underground and then put Trump in there so that he can pretend that he's still president.
Oh, it's like an Alzheimer's village.
It's like a Truman Show thing.
I feel like our life has become the Truman Show instead of the other way around. That's a real problem.
Yeah. If we could just contain him, make him think he's president forever, and then train cameras on him, and we can continually laugh at him.
We'll hire black people to pretend to be beat up by cops so that Trump can get his rocks off. As long as these black people are being well paid, that's reparations. Pretending to get beat up in a Truman Show village. 100K a year. There are a lot of I feel like Candace Owens might sign up for that job.
Yeah.
Also, the cops are also actors, and then after they beat up the black people for Trump's benefit, they go to another area where like all of the anarchists are sitting around, and the black people beat up them, it balances out.
This reminds me of a Chappelle show doing behind the scenes at Roots, where they're like, "You hit me too hard," they start beating his ass. The thing goes off.
Oh God,
it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Leia, you got anything else to add? You got any other bits? Amuse us, Leia.
Not particularly. I was thinking we could start wrapping things up.
All right,
we've had a fun time.
We've had a great time. We're coming up on an hour. It's been a full show. Y'all have already had a post game, and in the post game, we took the 100 most influential people in human history, and we decided whether they were tops or bottoms. We picked like 12 of these people, and we had debates. It was really good. So if you got a Patreon, $1 gets you into the post-game show.
Look at it.
We're not doing one. The OG3, we're tuckered out. I reckon we're going to this debate.
Absolutely. Going to the debate right after this.
Leia, how's Montana treating you? You're closest to being a real cow. Yeah.
It's beautiful, I got to say.
I love it.
There are a lot of weird people in Montana, in Missoula at least.
You should take more pictures, because that's like where the places where we live, we think of them as normal. But to the rest of the country, it's content. You should go out in there.
I just remembered I wanted to talk about this for a second. I probably want to talk about this on an episode. Right. Missoula is a very weird place with like a bunch of weird ideologies. There, I see multiple gatherings of like QAnon people waving like "Save the Children," "Where we go one, we go all" signs on the street corners, and I see Black Lives Matter signs, and like my partner's boss is a communist, and there's just so much politics contained in this little petri dish of a valley, and it's so interesting to me.
We definitely have got to talk about Montana politics. We always talk about local politics, and you've got a whole new set of local politics to deal with. Totally. And I do want to hear about that on a later day. So basically, for Kennedy, for Leia, I'm Brandon. The OG3 will ride again someday soon.
See you around.
You stay buckled up, partner. We'll be back with you. See you again next time. Later.